you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to our meeting in public. So we have apologies from Dr. Okolo. We've got one or two people I think are struggling with traffic. So Roger says he'll be a little bit late. We're missing Jenny and Ravi as well, but I'm sure they'll join us at the appropriate moments. So I must publicly recuse myself here. I have parked in a disabled parking space. So before somebody photographs that with my personalised number plate on and puts it on social media, I will move it as soon as there's an available space. But it was that or an even longer delay to the start of the meeting, or asking Russell to start to chair it. So sincere apologies, not something I would normally dream of doing. So any declarations of interest or changes to be notified? No, thank you very much. So minutes of the previous meeting held on the 10th of October. Are there any amendments, corrections? Everybody happy to accept that as a appropriate and accurate recording of that meeting? Thank you very much. There's a couple of actions on the action monitoring schedule. Safeguarding annual report. That's going to be included in future in the annual report. Thank you for noting that. And the workforce race equality standard and disability equality standards, you're going to carry sent us a See Me First link. So if people could follow up on that, that would be great. Anything that's been missed in terms of matters arising? No? Lovely. Thank you very much. Bucky, I think we're over to you, aren't we? Sorry, got the wrong agenda. That helps, doesn't it? Off to a really good start. So we're nearly doing the meeting in private then. So, patient story. So we welcome Phoebe today, and I think we have a video to look at, Kenny.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So thank you, Phoebe, for being here. It's fantastic of you being here today, but also of you to record your story so that the board members can hear it. It is a really powerful and honest story, I think, and it's really brave of you for being able to do it. I think we just had a quick conversation. I think you're keen for the video to be used as a learning aid to raise awareness and however we as an organisation feel that it would be useful. But I think there's some points in there that you raised that are really helpful, actually. So just briefly, you'll see from the video, Phoebe has used our parent and baby service following the birth of her son, Teddy. She was referred by her health visitor. And again, there's a really interesting story of both her experience, but also importantly some suggestions for how we might improve. So thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be questions, but over to you, Joe, for you to play the video, please.
amazing story, Phoebe. Thank you so much. And you've got your hands full with Teddy, haven't you? Looks like he's full of energy. That's wonderful. Thank you. Any comments or questions for Phoebe? Lucia.
Hi, Phoebe. Hi. Thank you for sharing that. It's really powerful, and your little boy's beautiful. Beautiful. I suppose the thing that struck me is your experienced mum. So you really connected with your feelings and knew something wasn't right. I suppose what bothers me particularly, and we hear it time and time again, is people having to tell their story over and over.
Yeah.
And it's not okay, it's not good enough, because it's re-traumatising people often.
Yeah.
So I suppose what might have helped you, if we think about sort of technology or digital or ability to access your own information, do you know what might have helped you to stop having to do that every time you wanted to review medication or change something?
I think if the GP's linked in more with the service, like I said in the video, even the GP didn't know what parent and baby unit was, and I know I'd never heard of it until my health visitor mentioned it and kind of explained. So I think that all linking in together more, I don't know how that would happen, and I guess it was on my notes, but then, when you book an appointment with the GP, you sit down and go, how can I help? It's like, well, I've booked the appointment, you know why I'm here. I think that, something that links kind of in with the service, and the fact I was only referred to that service by the health visitor because my health visitor knew me. She was my health visitor for the previous 2 other children I'd had, whereas that continuation of service doesn't happen anymore. And had I have had a different health visitor, I'm not sure I'd have been able to be as open, because she wouldn't have been able to look at me and say, you're not okay, are you? And I wouldn't have felt comfortable to say no. So I think continuation of service is really important. Because I know now when you have your baby, your referral just goes to the first available health visitor. And I think some continuation of service for people that have had multiple children would really help.
Thank you.
Miss Pauline.
Really, thank you for sharing your experiences, and as Liz said, what a lovely little Teddy is. And you did mention, Matt, your partner, and I just, can imagine that the whole family needed some support, because, when you talked about being an inpatient for 5 weeks, that in itself would have had a big impact on the rest of the family. And was that support there for them at all?
No.
Nothing?
I know I was an inpatient in Nottingham because the Brockington had no space. It was the closest available unit with a bed. So they have a worker for Dad's, but he was off. So there was actually no communication kind of between Matt. Visitors were allowed on the unit, and so Matt had to take time off work. My eldest son has ADHD and is autistic, so for me not being there, it had a massive impact on him. And I think if there was some kind of support, however that may look, for the wider family, especially if there's other children, it would help massively, because I think Matt really struggled then, and he'd never say it now, but he really struggled.
Well, he was probably very worried about you too, wasn't he?
Well,
As well as all the practical stuff he had to deal with, there would have been that worry, concern for you as well.
Yeah, I think one day Rachel said to me, you've got to think, Matt was coming home from work when I was at my worst, not knowing what he would find when he got home. And there wasn't then anything for Matt to kind of talk that through with anyone, because he was at work and getting messages from me saying how kind of down I was, and how there was a day where I'd got all the children out of the house, and I think Rachel ended up ringing me about 4 or 5 times that day just to make sure I was okay, because she said, you've got your children out of the house, you're not going to do something, are you? And it was at that point where we looked at the inpatient, but Matt was at work full time, so he couldn't be there with me, and he would have been there if he could, but unfortunately that
It really shows the importance of a good health and stuff.
yeah and mental
Carrie.
Thank you, Phoebe. And a mum of four, I take my hat off to you. My goodness me, my goodness me. But you know, your story is really compelling, and it's really clear that you knew something wasn't right during the pregnancy, didn't you? You know, and a very experienced mum, so knew. Was there anything that could have helped to encourage you to seek help earlier, or was there any missed opportunities? So,
I think I'd say I was probably quite depressed throughout my pregnancy. I was very much done after my third, and then Teddy came along, and there was never any thought of not having him, or it just took me a lot to get my head around. But I discussed that with my midwife and with other midwives when she was off, and I think it was more, like I said in the video, she's exhausted, you know, she's got 3 children.
yeah.
And then even in the maternity wards, after I'd had Teddy, they were very much like, oh, you know what you're doing, we'll leave you to it.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like I was dismissed a lot because I was already a mum. Which I feel made it harder for me because I know what it feels like to love a child, and I was constantly comparing the way I felt about the other children to how I wasn't feeling at that time about Teddy. Whereas a first-time mum probably wouldn't. So I get that first-time mums definitely need that support, but mums that already have children need it as well. And I didn't get that, both kind of in the community with the midwife, but also as an inpatient in the hospital after having him.
I was wondering how we can share that journey.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you.
It's listening, isn't it? It's probably that's the thing that I think sounds like was missing, actual listening
Yeah.
and hearing what you were trying to say. You
Yeah.
know, and that's the bit I think that's crucial.
Martin.
Morning, Phoebe. I'm Martin, one of the board members. First, I want to say thank you for being prepared to step forward and tell us your story, telling it in such an articulate and personal way. And some of the things you've talked through us too, these are some of the things that would have helped me. That is so impactful. It's so important that we hear not only what we've got right, and it's great to hear some of the fantastic support that you've been provided, but actually where are the areas that we need to make some improvements, not just us as an organisation, but collectively across healthcare systems. So, you know, you're talking through GPs needing to understand the service is so powerful and so important for us. So a huge thank you, and I'm sure we'll kind of give you some assurance that we're going to be looking into all of the things that you've said. But so it's just one question for you: how have we managed to get you here? So, you know, such a personal story, and so challenging potentially for you to come forward. How have we managed to get you to a position there where you've been willing to come to them to treat?
I actually, Nottingham for World Mental Health Day, Perinatal Mental Health Day, they asked if I'd share my story with them, and I wrote them a poem. And it was quite powerful, wasn't it, my poem? And I shared it across Facebook, really, and I tagged the trust and kind of everyone that had helped. And it was picked up, and they said, you know, we'd really like it if you'd mind telling your story to us. So, okay.
Brilliant. Well, huge thank you, and hopefully you'll know that you've not wasted your time. It's been really, really impactful. And I'm going to have to dig out the poem and have a look at that.
I can read it for you.
Have you got the poem?
Yes, please do.
It's on my phone.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, you might.
Anyone needs any?
Maybe, possibly.
worse when you can't find it. So, you know, yeah.
Okay. So it was called Healing. I've just had my 4th baby. This is what all busy mums must feel like, maybe. The days are dark and the nights are never ending. The intrusive thoughts are unrelenting. I paint on a smile and pretend I'm okay, but the way I feel now, I don't think I'll last the day. This baby keeps crying, I can't take any more. I can't muster the strength to pick myself up off the floor. Why does he look at me with so much love in his eyes? Does he know everything I do for him feels like lies? I can't feel anything for him, it all just feels so numb. Why can't I love him? I'm supposed to be his mum. I shouldn't be here, there are people poorlier than me. You're here to get better, and you will, we guarantee. We know you're not yourself right now, but we can help you get there. Postnatal depression happens and people are so unaware. Always remember the storm you're going through won't define you. Give me a cuddle, let's go have a chat and have a brew. There are things you can try like breathing exercises and meditation. None of that will work for me, just sort me some medication. Dip your face in the ice water, it might give you some relief. Let's fill your toolbox and try suspend that disbelief. It's okay to cry, it doesn't mean that you're weak. You should know that you're your own worst critique. We know you feel safe here, but we think that you're ready. Just look at the bond you have created with Teddy. Our care will continue far beyond you going home. If you want to talk to us, just pick up the phone. You've done amazing and really are a star. Remember what you've learned and we all know you'll go far. Back here again, in the place where I got ill. I still don't think I can do this, but I know that I will. The staff felt like my family, the unit was my safe space, but I know I'm meant to be here now. I'm not just Mummy, I'm Phoebe, and this is my place. I'm going to keep on going, opening my toolbox as I go. Healing is not linear, that I now know. My feelings have changed, numb has now disappeared. I can feel again, and the love I have for Teddy Chops has now appeared. The staff were all right, it didn't last forever. I rode the storm and now the waves have almost gone altogether. I'll forever be grateful to the maternal mental health services and hope that the staff all know I wouldn't be alive today, but here I am, living and loving the best version of myself, Phoebe 2.0.
Wow.
Bucky, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, I did. Just repeat that awful time has turned into an awesome time for you, and thank you for sharing with us. It started actually with Martin, and point of having the story is not just so we feel nice about ourselves, but actually what you're saying is to make a difference for others. And I was reflecting that actually that is why we exist. And I suppose we have an opportunity through being the lead trust for the mental health portfolio to take all those things with regards to working with GPs, making it more visible, and just shining a light on the help that's available. So I'm looking at Ben, who is SRO, and we're committing to taking that forward, and thank you for raising it with us.
Yeah, thank you. Keith?
Thanks so much. That was really, really, really good and moving. There's so much to talk about from your video. One of the things I couldn't help but notice is the excellent bonding you've got with Teddy Chops. It's just normal, it's just right, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that in itself is fantastic. It strikes me as the what's happened here is that there has been relatively early recognition, or it could have perhaps been earlier, and there's been appropriate intervention. To expand on the point Bucky makes, I think there is a need for an awareness of signposting, and certainly as a GP, and I've been on this board for ages, I'll suddenly find out that this trust provides a service which I didn't know about. And so there is a need to signpost those and make GPs aware, not just GPs, but everybody aware of that. That's difficult in itself, but does need to happen. But the other thing you touched on, and it's really, really, really important, is communication. And sometimes communication is improved beyond recognition, but communication is still lacking and does need to be improved. And it is a frustration. Overall, things have improved enormously in this service, and certainly as a consumer, and I say consumer because as a GP I've referred several people through to the service locally, and it's always been a responsive and appropriate service with good outcomes. But again, as Buki said, there's room for improvement. There's a way, and it might be difficult, but there's definitely a way, a need to make that journey smoother and to save you having to go through what you went through. I think you ought to be congratulated. I think it's fantastic what you've done. I think it's fantastic what the team done, but it's fantastic what you've done. And I really, really thank you for bringing to those who might not be at the clinical interface, bringing a very personal view of a very traumatic and a very rewarding experience. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Anything from anybody else? Yes.
Hi, Phoebe, I'm Shireen. Thank you so much for sharing your story, because as someone in a lived experience role, some of the things that you've talked about really resonated with me, particularly stigma and things like that. And also, you know, the service user and carer voice is really important in this trust. But I wanted to ask, because you said that you accessed the coffee mornings, were you offered peer support with PBU?
Yeah, I was. I didn't really access a lot of it though. I was really wary of discharge the whole way through. And in actual fact, I've been fine. And Rachel said I'd be fine, but I didn't believe any of them. Yeah, I did access peer support. I went on a couple of the walks that they do. But again, I asked one day if Matt could come with me, and he couldn't. And I couldn't get my head around it, because I was like, it's called a parent and baby unit. It's not called a mum or the birthing parent. It's a parent and baby unit. So why couldn't Matt join me on the walk and meet the peer support workers as well? Because I just feel like they should be there for the other parent too.
Yeah, and that resonates with me, because I've been unwell myself, and my partner, you know, he was the one working full time and also looking after the children and trying to keep everything together, and I think that's something that, you know, I work quite closely with all the peers in the trust. That's something that we definitely need to be more inclusive about males and dads, and it's really crucial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Really good point. Thank you, Shireen, for raising that.
Anything from anybody else? Yes, Roger.
Very briefly, thank you very much. And thank you also, for both of you, for raising the issues about fathers. I think the impact of fatherhood on fathers, irrespective of whether their partners or families are undergoing problems or having mental health problems, the impact on fathers is significant, and it's not recognised. And I think fathers also find it very difficult to say if they are struggling. So it would be nice to think that we can sort of expand people's horizons a bit to remember that dads may also be struggling with a new baby in the family for all kinds of reasons. So thanks for bringing that up.
So thank you once again, Phoebe. And I think if we deserve any reward, it's your smile and your confidence and your apparent, very apparent happiness, and it's delightful to see. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for caring enough to want to help others as well, which is fantastic. And for your poem.
Even just one person's life by sharing it.
Yes. Yeah. I think you've raised some things we need to take away and think about, particularly making sure that GPs are aware of this service, and also perhaps thinking about how we help dads a bit more with our support. But thank you once again, thank you Rachel and to the team that did supporting work. You do fantastic work and we're most grateful to you and to you again Phoebe, thank you very much. I think we need to give you another round of applause. I think our only disappointment is you didn't bring Teddy with you.
He'd have been on the team.
That's fine. That would have made our day. So, Bookie, it is now you. So reach award.
Thank you, Chair. And we've got the recipient of this month's award with us, Claire Lamb, who's from the Specialist Directorate. Welcome. So people who've nominated you for this have written clear script for me, and I do try and read it, but forgive me, sometimes I don't. Especially as I've had the privilege of visiting Dragon Square, and for anyone I would recommend, if you haven't been, please do. Sorry, Broome Street, thank you. I was there, I promise, and Claire was there. And I'll tell you why. Well, and I've got a picture. I have never visited anywhere in the Trust where I've had proper Stoke china served, very civilised, and it was just a warm atmosphere. So please do visit.
The rest of us don't get that.
Well, sorry. It was lovely. Anyway, I'll stick to the script, as I said. So, Claire is and has been an occupational therapist in the Trust for many years, and she's currently the acting team leader at Broome Street Bookie, remember. And that's the Adult Community Learning Disability team. Throughout Claire's career, she has consistently demonstrated dedication and compassion when supporting service users and staff. Claire has an amazing ability to think outside of the box and ensures that clients' plans are truly person-centred. She inspires her team to do the same, and in recent months, as team leader, steered the team through a particularly challenging period. She has supported her team to ensure their voice is heard and consistently works to ensure that staff feel valued by the Directorate and the Trust, with a focus on delivering high-quality services and excellent patient care. Claire's talents lie in the detail, as of the bone china. She loves nothing more than a problem to solve. One example is the improvement made to the duty system and caseload management, delivering high-quality services to meet performance standards. Her knowledge of digital systems is outstanding. Lorenzo is made simple through Claire's knowledge, and she led on developing the LD digital portal. She won an award for this work, and you'll have to tell us about that, please. We believe Claire demonstrates all the proud to care values in her day-to-day work. Claire is compassionate in her approach to both patient and staff, ensuring they're listened to and concerns addressed to the best of her ability. Claire is dedicated to the service and is always approachable. Claire demonstrates being responsible, as evidenced in the last few months when she has stepped up without hesitation to support the team in the absence of their team leader. Claire's passion and dedication to learning disability and autism services drives the team to continue to to provide excellent patient care. She demonstrates her commitment to safe and effective care through triaging clients onto the most effective pathway to achieve a positive outcome. Claire is a shining example of a can-do mindset. Can you all join me in What are you doing? Oh, okay.
So, congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. That's lovely.
Thank you.
So I look forward to coming to visit you and having a proper cup of
Yeah,
Stoke tea
proper
with Stoke
civilised,
china.
absolutely.
So, Bookie, I think we're still with you.
Yes, you are. Chair, I'll take the report as read, but I wanted to just let's pause. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Start again. So, yeah, I'll take the report as read, but particularly just wanted to highlight one or two things. The first one is just to talk about the NHS change and the 10-year plan, and the purpose is to just say that I have been invited to be part of one of the 4 vision work streams to inform the 10-year plan. And that work stream is one that I particularly think is important. And in summary, it's about how we empower patients to take control of their own health. And people would have heard me say that I think that's the missing piece in all the conversations. There isn't something about actually helping patients, or people even before they become patients, to really take hold of their own health. There's quite a short period of time, so there are 4 meetings, of which we've had 1, and the draft report will be out by the end of January, so quite intense. And I'll just say, if anyone has any thoughts, ideas of what I can feed into it, please do let me know, and I will do so. The other bit that I wanted to talk about, but not talk about, mention, is, because I'm sure Eric will talk about that in the finance report, is about the investigation and intervention that the system is under at the moment. And the chair will talk about the visits we've had recently in her own report. That's what I wanted to highlight, and I will stop there, and happy to take questions and comments.
Thank you, Bookie. Russell.
Yeah, thanks, Bookie, and really great that you've been invited onto one of those groups, so that's fantastic news. How are we responding as a trust? Are we responding as a trust?
Yes, indeed, we are, and Liz is doing that on our behalf. So I believe, Liz, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you have asked for comments and thoughts to feed into that.
Yeah, but I need to do that a bit more formally after
okay.
the last week, Bookie, so that'll be coming out shortly, and then we'll have a coordinated response back.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Anything else for Bookie?
Can I just comment on that? Sorry, I just wonder, are you going to do any focus groups or anything to try and sort of have some conversations rather than just people submitting?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing some of that anyway as
Yeah.
part of the planning round, so we've actually got a lot of information and some conversations with staff as well, so there's different opportunities to do that. The timescale's quite tight as well, though.
And
so,
can you draw on any of the service user conversations
I
as
think
well?
so, yeah, absolutely. And we're quite lucky that we've got quite a lot of connection to the organisation, so we can use all of that
evidence
narrative.
already.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. Good.
Jenny.
Yes. Jenny and then Tony. Thanks, Tony.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Just looking at what you mentioned in your report, and it's obviously in the next report about the financial intervention within the ICS. The first time I've noted that our ICS has to pay for the intervention. And it mentions that you have to go out to contract. It's an interesting way the NHS wants to manage finances by putting more pressure on us in that. I don't imagine that's a cheap process. But do we have any indication at this point, and it may be too early, what this could actually mean for us and the staff that we represent? My instinct is, if I understand it, will be we're already scrutinising vacancies, about whether we fill them or not. Is this going to potentially make that scrutiny even more difficult, and therefore more difficult to recruit to vacancies? And is the potential, because there's obviously lots of jobs we're must recruit to for safety reasons. You know, we can't have wards that are not staffed safe enough. So does this have the potential to put pressure on other areas, because that's sort of corporate roles and as such? Have we got any handle on what this could mean for us at this moment, or is it too early to say?
Thank you, Jenny. I'll start it. I'm sure Eric will add to it. I think at this point in time, what is quite specific is that it is looking at this year. And for us, of course, I think we need to look at it in a positive light in terms of welcoming the opportunity. You're absolutely right. We already have measures in place, but as you would heard me say once or twice, we will never be complacent. And as a board, and I'm sure board members will agree, that we are quite clear about anything that will jeopardise safe delivery of services. And without being boastful or anything, I think if you look at our track record anyway, it suggests that we are quite prudent and we know where the problem lies. But working as a system, I think there's something that perhaps our system can learn from us, but also what we can always do better, and that's where I come from. And your specific question about what staff should be worried about, we have our plan. We have, plans to fill vacancies that will impact on any safe delivery of services, and we don't have a plan to decrease or not to do that, if that makes sense. But basically it's to make our processes even better in terms of demonstrating the rigour that we have for our processes. Don't know, Eric, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, they're not doing anything that you wouldn't expect, Jenny.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to look at things in the context as well as how the workforce has grown over the last few years in the NHS. That's not to say we're going to go back to those levels, but there is some challenge coming in on the levels of staffing that organisations have. I'm not talking specifically about us, just in general. And we need to ensure that we can provide an evidence base that supports that. And they're bound to look at agency, particularly, things that they can turn off very quickly that leads to an improvement in financial performance by the end of the year. There's not going to be any rash decisions. They're due to give their first report back on Monday next week. I don't think it will have any surprises in it for anybody. The team have been reasonably engaging so far. I don't think anybody's had anything particularly negative in the organisation to say about them. And as Bucky says, from my perspective, we have to pay for it, so we may as well get the best out of it as we can. Because for me, it's consultancy. We're paying a very small amount relatively to everyone else in the system. Right. So for me, I want a good return, and I think we will manage that.
Thank you.
Tony, did you?
Yeah, really, just an aside to the 10-year plan. Just conscious of the fact that last week the changes to the Mental Health Act came out of the long-term grass and actually went before Parliament for the first time. It's a long time since this board's had an overview of that. It might be opportune to, to bring the changes to the board, because potentially are quite significant. Appreciate the fact there may be changes as it goes through Parliament, but it would be an opportunity to bring it back.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm looking at Ravi, who's representing Dennis today. But yes, I think you're right, absolutely, about the potential implications that it'll have. I think we've also talked about it at the Mental Health Board, about being aware of the impact it could have. So yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Just to add on that, Vicky, I think we were looking at it in two ways as well. So as us as a mental health provider, but actually in terms of our role in TCP, actually, with the changes in relation to people with learning disability and autism are quite significant in that delivery as well. So we'll probably, when we update the board, do both aspects of that at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll put that on as an action then. Thank you very much. Anything else for Bookie at all? I hope everybody watched the recording of the choir. It was rather good fun. So, and supporting freedom to speak up. And just while we're on freedom to speak up, just to confirm that Martin is going to pick up the non-executive lead role for that from Russell, who's been holding it briefly when he took over from me. So I know you'll follow that up with Marie in due course and with Kerry. Okay, so just moving on to my report. Oh, sorry, ICB. Anything you wanted to comment on there, other than what we've already said? No? Okay. I did have one observation on the report regarding the system organisational development. Appears to be in a loop that is stuck. So that this report in this board is very similar to the one in the previous board where it was raised. So I don't think there's anything that we can do to try and help move it out of its stalled position, because we seem to keep coming back saying we're looking at it. So I know we're part of that. So it just seems to me it's a missed opportunity to kind of move this agenda forward, as it's so important for workforce. Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Yeah, sorry to come in again on ICB. I just think it's worth noting, and sort of relates, I guess, to what you've just said as well. At the moment, we have as staff-side trade unions across the system no planned engagement with the ICB. I know they've been through some interim posts, but I'll try and take some responsibility myself to try and make some contact there. But we haven't met as a stakeholder, as trade union stakeholders with the ICB, or within the system. I mean, not the ICB, the ICS. In I think it's almost a year now. So I think that's worth noting, and I think that needs to change.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm sure that Kerry's going to take that forward for us. Thank you. Ben as well. Sorry, Ben, you need to wave your arms a bit.
Sorry, yeah. I suppose it's just to add, as board members know, we took the system overall review of intensive and assertive community mental health care. We did take a copy of that to Quality Committee, the system review, but just subsequent to this as well. So there was a national ask to cost up how much, if we implemented all of the actions in our action plan, how much it would actually cost. It's not because there's any money at the moment, but the national team want that to go to Treasury to ask for the money in effect. So that's all gone in, and we have quantified that all up. So we do know what we would need to get there, but at the moment there's no money to pay for it.
But at least we know what the ask is.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you. Anything else on ICB? Nope. Okay. So my own report is very brief. Just wanted to highlight the Black History Month celebration, which was a joyous day. Actually, it was really good, and it's quite insightful, isn't it, to go and sit in a room where you find yourself in a racial minority. It helps you to think about what it's like for colleagues when the situation is reversed. But I have to say, I thought it was really good fun and very good-humoured, a lot of laughter, a lot of serious messages got across as well. And I think the missed opportunity was that we were all enthusiastic about diversity and inclusion in the room. it would have been really helpful if we had a few people there who perhaps would have learnt a bit more. We all learn every day, but it was a bit of a missed opportunity, so we can try and extend it next year to get perhaps some learning opportunities for people, not a full day, but just something to say, come along and listen to what people have to say about their experience. Some of it's quite shocking. Even in this day and age, you think that can't possibly be the case, but it is. But at least we were in an environment where people could talk about it and feel that they were being listened to. Our third attempt at recruiting an audit chair. We're about to interview at the end of the month, so fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get somebody to join the team to complete our board. Very nice to have 2 MPs come to visit us, very enthusiastic and impressed by their visits to particularly the Crisis Care Centre. I think quite an education for them. I know Gareth's been here before. Adam is a new MP. And we had very nice notes back from both of them to say how much they'd enjoyed their visit. And we have some more MPs coming later in the month. And we also have had visits from our other provider chairs, which I think was the first time that either of them had been into Hartland. So again, very nice notes from both of them back to say how great they thought the teams were, enthusiastic, very open to telling them exactly how things are. And I think, you know, we can only do more of this. It helps to broadcast what we do and get people to come and have a look at us. So again, we've got return visits organised, which I get will be interesting. And this is our last public board meeting of the year before we lose 2 of our long-standing NEDs. So I would like to record for the minutes on behalf of the trust and the board what a fantastic contribution both Tony and Keith have made to this board over a very long time. We won't mention the number of years. And I think so Tony particularly, we've really benefited from your business experience and knowledge, and you have the knack of asking the question that nobody else asks. And I'm not sure who's going to ask it once you've gone, but we need to think about us to tell ourselves around the table and what would Tony have said. So thank you very much for all you've done, and also the very important role you've done in supporting the Mental Health Act managers. And I know you're going to hand that over to Roger, and that's underway. And before I move on to Keith, I think you wanted to say something, Russell.
Oh, if I may, just indulge the board for a couple of minutes. So Tony and I have had a special working relationship for the last 5 years, and I just thought I'd explain to the board why. Tony's looking a bit mystified. So just a very quick story. So I applied to join the board in 2018, and it was for an HR NED role, and Janet got the role.
Sorry.
And on the day, it was fine, because Janet and I knew each other vaguely outside of work. We were on the same board in Manchester, and that was all fine. And David Rogers rang me up on the day of the interview, and he said, look, you know, somebody called Janet Dawson's got the role. He said, but we've got a NED who's leaving in a few months' time. Would you be prepared to step in? And he said, you know, go in, learn the ropes, shadow him, find out what's going on, all this kind of thing. So I said, I don't mind doing that, actually. That sounds like it's a good role. So I actually joined the board as an associate, and after about 3 months, David spoke to me again, and he said, you know, we've been thinking, and he said, we're going to extend Tony's tenureship when you come onto the board properly. You know, shadow him, get your feet under the table, be a good chap, all this kind of thing. So I thought, this is fine. I can live with this. So I came on as a full NED, and we went around through a full year, and we got to my appraisal. And all you want to know in your appraisal is, am I doing okay? And so I said, David, am I doing okay? And he went, well, you know, what we've done is we've asked Tony to stay on a bit longer. So what I want you to do is just you know, shadow him, learn the ropes, get your feet under the table. And I realised that the only way I would know if I was doing any good was when Tony left. And every blinking year he stayed on. So 2021 came round, and he was still there, and 22 and 23, and it was just a chance conversation with Janet earlier this year, and Janet said, oh, did you know that Tony's leaving? And I thought, yes! And it's been a bit like the think that the image I've had in my mind, all of this 5-year apprenticeship, is it's been like being the Karate Kid to Mr. Miyagi. You know, seeing that film, something like that. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, that would explain, if you've ever spotted this, that would explain why Tony and I are on all the same committees. So I've had a 5-year apprenticeship in the salt mines of F&R with Tony, on the audit committee for 5 years with Tony, and 3 years in the irritable funds committee with Tony. Sorry, charitable funds committee. But all I want to say is it has been a real pleasure and an honour, Tony, to shadow you. I don't know what I'm going to do now my shadow has gone. And just to say very seriously, I think what Tony has exemplified for me is 2 characteristics really. The first one is unfailing courtesy and politeness to executives and to staff. Always, I think, I've never seen him deviate from that. And secondly, a real tenacious attitude to wanting to get to the bottom of things that are bothering him. And you have to get the balance right as a NED. You know, you can't do that all the time. You've got to get that balance between following through on something and being courteous. And I just want to thank you for being a real great shadower to shadow.
We could have had this conversation 5 years ago. We could have sorted it out.
Thank you, Russell. That's absolutely delightful story, and I hope you're now feeling much more confident that your contribution is valued and recognised. Yeah, you're qualified. So, Keith, you have done a fantastic role in this organisation, seen it through some really difficult times that before I was involved, and a lot of people around this table are involved, and been a tenacious champion of Combined, but also our loudest critic. And that has been hugely valuable because the thing I always remember you saying to me constantly is we must stop patting ourselves on the back. And I'll always remember that because it's very easy, isn't it, when you're recognising fantastic contributions from colleagues and great patient stories, that's one side of the story for people. And we always need to remember the ones that didn't go as well and when we're not as effective in our services. And we will really miss that contribution. Your knowledge of Stoke and how it ticks and the people has been hugely valuable, and your support to me personally has been great. I was sat next to you on my first board meeting. I think at one point I had my head in my hands saying, I don't know what I'm doing here, I don't know if I got onto this board. But you said to me, it'll be fine. Give it 5 or 6 years and you'll feel you've grasped it. So thank you, Keith, for everything that you've done for us, and I know you will continue to be our strongest and loudest critic, and you won't let us off the hook just because you're not around this table. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to recognise your contribution at our celebration later, but I think we need to just give you that recognition here as well now. So. I think that's a good opportunity to take a break.